The black side of Luna hadn't seen a footfall in 10,000 years. The Accord called it the Silent Cradle, a relic to be feared, not studied. But curiosity had never been good at obeying laws. Commander Keera's boots crunched on ancient regolith as she stepped off the transport shuttle. Dust rose like smoke in low gravity. Around her, the surface stretched cold and dead, the curve of the moon falling into eternal shadow. Radiation minimal. Atmosphere non-existent. Just like the last 7 reports, muttered Riven, her tech analyst, checking his scanner. Still think there's something worth digging up here? Keera didn't answer. Her eyes were on the cliffside ahead, a jagged wound carved centuries ago by what the Accord dismissed as a mining accident. But Keera had followed the pulse. A signal, faint but constant, had drawn her ear. It vibrated beneath the surface, encrypted in a pattern no current species could decipher. She raised her hand. There. 30 meters down. Riven frowned. We're not authorized for excavation. I didn't ask for authorization, she replied. The team got to work. Plasma cutters hummed, slicing through layers of rock and alloy. After nearly 2 hours, the last slab fell away, revealing a circular hatch sealed in burnished black metal. No seams, no markings, except one. A symbol. A handprint. 5 fingers. Human. Keera stared at it. Riven, record this. You're not actually thinking of opening it. She stepped forward. We didn't come to look. We came to know. Her palm hovered over the ancient imprint, hesitant for a breath. Then she placed her hand against it. A hiss, like something waking up after an eternity of silence. The hatch irised open without sound. Cold vapor spilled from within, licking at her boots. She stepped inside. The chamber was vast, circular, lined with smooth obsidian walls. Panels flickered to life as she passed, responsive, but still foreign. In the center stood a stasis pod. It was not like any she'd seen in museums or archives. Sleek. Compact. Unscarred by time. Inside, a man. Human. His eyes were closed. His skin pale but intact. Monitors showed steady vitals, heart rate, brain activity, even muscle tone. This shouldn't be possible, Riven whispered, eyes wide. Keera leaned closer. The man was tall, broad-shouldered, short dark hair curled slightly at the brow. There was a strange calm on his face, almost serene. Her hand hovered over the console. Symbols flickered beneath the glass, unknown, unreadable, but intuitive in some primal way. I think he's waking up. Before Riven could stop her, Keera pressed a symbol pulsing gold. The chamber trembled. Across the surface of Luna, dead satellites blinked. Buried towers on Mars groaned with new life. In deep space, an old warship long assumed debris reactivated and broadcast one phrase in every known Accord language. Protocol Prime active. Keera stumbled back. What did I just do? The pod hissed. Lights rippled down its frame. The man's fingers twitched. Commander, Riven said, backing away. We need to go. Now. Keera didn't move. She couldn't. The man's eyes opened. Cold blue. Piercing. Ancient. He blinked once, then sat up with mechanical precision, eyes scanning the chamber. Then he looked at Keera. Where am I? His voice was rough, deep, barely above a whisper. Keera swallowed. Luna. The moon. His gaze sharpened. What year? She hesitated. 14,233 Galactic Standard. Silence. Then a humorless laugh. Too long, he muttered. Far too long. Behind them, the shuttle's comms crackled. Unidentified activation on Luna. Accord Fleet Command reports a Class A protocol breach. Warships en route. Evacuate immediately. Keera turned to Riven. We're leaving. Now. But the man stood, ignoring the trembling of his legs. No. You opened the vault. You triggered the sequence. It's not just me. They'll all wake up now. They? Keera echoed. The man looked at her, expression unreadable. I'm Mason Ryker. Commander, Earth Defense Initiative. And if the failsafe kicked in, then Earth is about to be very, very loud. As if on cue, deep in the chamber's core, a low hum began. Lights lit up one by one, forming a path deeper into the moon. Keera turned to him. What is this place? Ryker walked past her, toward the path, his gait growing steadier. This is the door. The first. There are more. More vaults? Riven asked, aghast. Not vaults. Ryker stopped. Arks. The comms flared again. Repeat, Accord forces inbound. Total containment authorized. All lifeforms in zone will be neutralized. Keera didn't think. She grabbed Ryker's arm. We're getting you out. He resisted. They'll hunt me. You too. Once the Accord knows a human's awake. They already know, she said grimly. And if they find you first, this whole moon gets turned into plasma. For the first time, he looked uncertain. Then he nodded once. Then let's not be here when they arrive. They ran. Back through the tunnels, up through the hatch. Keera's team packed and moved fast, tension crackling in every breath. The stars above had gone red, an alert beacon from the nearest Accord battleship. They reached the shuttle just as warning sirens blared from orbit. Commander, shouted the pilot. Unidentified signals, 30 ships. Heavy class. They're not warning. They're targeting. Keera turned to Ryker. Can you fly? He stepped into the co-pilot's seat, eyes flicking across the controls. Give me 30 seconds. You have 10. The shuttle groaned as its systems overclocked. Turbines screamed. Ryker's fingers danced across unfamiliar panels, yet his muscle memory knew. They launched. As the shuttle broke atmosphere, the Accord fleet arrived, bristling with weapons, engines glowing like the eyes of gods. They see us, the pilot said. Missiles incoming. Ryker slammed a final sequence. Then let's show them what a real ghost ship can do. The shuttle vanished from sensors. Just disappeared. Keera exhaled, heart pounding. What did you do? Old Earth tech, Ryker said. Cloak grade 12. No one uses it anymore because no one remembers how. Keera stared at him, breath still catching. What the hell were you people? Ryker looked out the viewport, the ruins of the moon shrinking behind them. We were the warning. The stars looked wrong. Mason Ryker stared out from the shuttle's cockpit as they drifted in cloak, silent among the debris rings of Saturn. So much had changed, yet Saturn's golden bands remained unchanged, celestial and indifferent. Behind him, Keera paced. We need a plan. The Accord won't stop at one fleet. The entire quadrant's on alert. Mason didn't turn. We buy time. Find another ark. Wake more. Her voice hardened. You're still thinking like a soldier. I was bred to be one. He faced her. But I'm also thinking like a species. We either rise or disappear for good. Keera folded her arms. They fear you. Then they remember us correctly. The shuttle's systems chirped. Riven's voice came over comms from the back, incoming data spike. I ran a trace on the vault's final broadcast. It pinged 6 locations. One's here, Titan orbit. Keera leaned over Mason's shoulder, eyes narrowing. Coordinates? Transmitting now. Mason tapped the nav. Got it. A derelict platform in Saturn's shadow. No activity. Perfect place to hide something important. The ship turned, silent and unseen, coasting toward the dark. As they neared, an old human station emerged, rusted, battered, but whole. Its designation blinked faintly in ancient code. Titan Prime Eddy Control Node 09. Keera exhaled. It's human tech. But it looks untouched. That's not neglect, Mason said. That's lockdown. The kind only my kind could open. They docked. The bay doors resisted at first, then hissed open as Mason approached, responding to his biometric signature. Inside, a long corridor stretched, lights flickering on in sequence. Riven whispered, "I hate this already." "Then stay close," Keera replied. They moved in. Silence ruled the station, broken only by the hum of power returning after centuries. Along the walls, frozen pods lined the corridor, dozens of them, intact. Keera paused. "These are cryobeds." "Full." Mason inspected one. The occupant was pale, armored, and peaceful. "Command grade," he muttered. "They put the tacticians here. Meant to awaken last." "Last for what?" Keera asked. "Recovery. Rebuilding. War, if needed." Mason stood slowly. "This isn't just a vault. It's a command post." Titan Prime wasn't storage, it was planning. He moved to the central terminal, fingers hovering. "We either leave these people to sleep forever, or we light the beacon." Keera stepped in front of him. "You saw what happened when you woke. One fleet. Imagine 10. And if we do nothing?" Mason's voice lowered. "They'll sterilize Earth. Everything we were, all of it, wiped clean. History rewritten by fear." Keera looked away. "That's not your choice to make." "No," he agreed. "It's ours." Behind them, the console blinked. A holomap expanded, showing deep human infrastructure buried across the system: Mars, Europa, Enceladus. All linked. All dormant. And in the corner, a prompt: "Activate Ascendancy Protocol." Before anyone could speak, alarms flared. The station shook. Riven yelled, "Ship incoming." Accord's signature. Destroyer class. Keira's eyes went wide. "How?" "We were cloaked." "They didn't track us," Mason said. "They tracked the beacon." Keira turned to him. "Shut it down." He hesitated. "It's too late. The moment I woke, everything started ticking." Riven bolted for the bay. "We need to go." But Mason wasn't moving. "There's a back door. Old evac route. It'll take us to a stealth cruiser, if it's still docked." Keira grabbed his arm. "You better be right." They sprinted through the corridors, alarms screaming. As they ran, the cryopods dimmed, reverting to full hibernation. A failsafe, triggered by station breach. They reached the hangar. A sleek black cruiser waited, dormant but intact. Mason placed his hand on the hull. It shimmered, accepted him. "It's armed?" Keira asked. "Barely," he replied. "But fast. Faster than anything they've got." Inside, the ship came to life. Lights ignited, panels slid open, engines hummed. Mason took the pilot's seat like he'd never left it. Riven called from the weapons bay, "We've got maybe 60 seconds." Keira watched Mason work. "You're sure about this ship?" He didn't look at her. "I built this class." The cruiser lifted off. Outside the docking ring, the Accord destroyer loomed, massive and armed. Fighters launched, vectoring in. "Hold on," Mason said. The ship surged forward, then blinked out of visual. Cloaked. Invisible. They slid past the destroyer. Alarms on the Accord ship flared, weapons fired blindly into the void. "They're scattering pulses." Riven shouted. "Trying to get a reflection." "Then don't give them one," Mason muttered. He took the ship into a dive, looping around Saturn's outer rings. They clipped ice, skimmed radiation belts, and dropped into the shadow of the planet. "Lost them," Riven said, gasping. "At least for now." Keira leaned against the wall, catching her breath. "They'll regroup." Next time with more ships. Mason nodded. They'll bring everything. And we're what? She asked. A dead race and a traitor? No, he looked up. We're the last move they never saw coming. Silence settled. The stars beyond the viewport looked colder now. Keera finally spoke, voice low. You said there were more vaults. There are. And you're going to wake them? If I must. She stared at him, unreadable. What if they become what the Accord fears? Mason answered without hesitation. Then I'll stop them myself. The weight of that promise hung in the air. He turned back to the nav next site's Europa. A medical cradle. Safer. Smaller. She watched him work, steady, calculating, human. Why did your people hide instead of fighting? He paused. Because even gods get tired of blood. Europa shimmered beneath them like a cracked gem, its surface a skin of ice hiding oceans, and secrets, miles deep. The stealth cruiser coasted silently above it, hidden in the moon's shadow, invisible to all but the oldest of sensors. Inside, tension pressed against the ship's walls. Mason Ryker stood at the central console, reviewing the data fragment recovered from Titan Prime. It projected a simple schematic, an underground vault marked Ascendancy Core. No records in Accord archives mentioned it. No signals had ever leaked from it. Why here? Keera asked from behind him. Europa was a medical node, Mason said. Not a war zone. Quiet, buried, off-grid. Perfect for hiding something vital. She leaned closer. Vital like what? He looked at her. The first generation of post-Earth humans. Bioengineered to survive collapse. Smarter, faster, adaptable. Keera stared at the projection. They put the future in a freezer. They didn't want it waking up too early, Mason replied. But now there's no such thing as early. Only too late. The ship touched down. The ice crunched beneath their boots as they moved toward the vault marker, hidden beneath the crust. Mason led with practiced steps. This was his terrain, even after centuries. Keera followed, silent, but watching him closely. The hatch was there, buried under a meter of frost, still intact. Human alloy, hex-locked. Mason knelt, placed his palm against the access port. His skin lit up with the system's response, DNA match confirmed. The vault opened with a deep, metallic sigh. They descended into warmth and darkness. Lights flickered on in slow succession, revealing rows of stasis tanks, lined like tombs. Hundreds. Maybe more. The figures inside were human, but subtly different, taller frames, sharper bone structure, veins laced with faint bioluminescence. Keera whispered, they look evolved. They were, Mason replied. We didn't plan to return as the same species. She walked down a line of tanks. What will they be if they wake now? Soldiers? Builders? Thinkers? If they remember why we fell. At the far end, a sealed control room sat buried behind blast glass. Mason approached it. The terminal blinked once, then asked. Reboot sequence, confirm activation? Before he could touch it, Keera stepped in. Wait. He faced her. This is the end of the line. No, she said. It's the beginning of another war. If you wake them now, the Accord will strike without hesitation. They already will, he said. We've seen how far they'll go to keep us buried. Keira's eyes were steady. Then we have to show them something different. Mason looked down at the console. His hand hovered. I thought if we came back, it had to be all or nothing, he said. But maybe the mistake was always thinking we needed everything at once. Keera placed her hand beside his. Give them a voice, not an army. He paused. Then nodded. Not all. Just one. He selected a single pod. The nameplate read. Genesis 1, Subject, ARA. The chamber hissed open. A woman stepped forward, barefoot, wrapped in a thin containment layer. She blinked against the light, then looked at Mason and spoke. Designation? He smiled faintly. You can call me Mason. She tilted her head. Protocol? Changed. Keera stepped forward slowly. Do you remember who you are? Era turned her gaze on her. It was sharp. Calculated. But not hostile. I remember enough. Mason handed her a data slate. The galaxy isn't what it was. We need a bridge. Not a blade. She absorbed the data in seconds, eyes flicking line by line. They fear us. They should, Mason replied. But they might not have to. Before more could be said, the ship's emergency beacon flared red. Riven's voice crackled over comms. Fleet incoming. Accord battleship. They found us again. Mason's jaw tightened. 1-5, Riven said. Led by High Executor Varn himself. Keera cursed under her breath. They brought their god of war. The vault trembled as orbitals locked on. A voice echoed through the facility, calm, cold, and unmistakable. This is Executor Varn Zelker of the Accord. You have violated intergalactic doctrine. Surrender the human subject and all biological anomalies. Or be erased. Mason looked up, then hit the console. Patch me in. Static, then connection. This is Commander Mason Ryker, Earth Defense Initiative, he said. You fear us because you remember the fire. But we're not here to burn. Varn's reply was instant. Words change nothing. Your kind nearly ended everything. We learned, Mason said. And we chose silence over conquest. You chose to hide. Mason's tone sharpened. We chose restraint. Don't mistake that for weakness. A moment passed. Then Varn responded, not with words, but with weapons. The vault shook violently. Explosions rumbled above. Mason turned to Era. Can you stop them? She nodded once. Temporarily. She reached out to the station's neural core, interfacing with it directly. Pulses of light surged through the facility. Above, the orbiting warship's systems flickered, their guidance scrambled. Missiles veered off course. Turrets froze. On the command bridge of the Accord flagship, Varn stood still. Impossible. Inside the vault, Era stepped back, breathing shallow. Not for long. Mason turned to Keera. Now the galaxy watches. You said they needed to see something different. She nodded. Then show them humanity doesn't mean domination. It means survival and choice. He opened a channel to the Accord fleet. All bands. This is not a declaration of war, Mason said clearly. This is a reintroduction. We are not your monsters. But we remember how to be. He ended the transmission. Then he turned to Keera. You think they'll listen? She shrugged. Some will. Enough, maybe. Silence fell as the light of Europa shimmered on the chamber walls. Era stepped beside them. So what now? Mason looked at the stasis fields, at the figures still sleeping beneath the ice. Now, he said quietly. We let them decide.